Las Vegas was going to be, you know, in her top 2, and yet there it is, sitting at number 5. So we even have more pull with our friends down in Phoenix, which tickles my heart. And then to see Denver also in the top 10, super interesting, right? Because they have a lot of the same resources and access to trails and things.
We're at the crossroads of the West.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent point that shows. I mean, we're even pulling people up from, you know, Dallas, Texas, of all places. So that's your top 10 for the cities on traffic on that website. Go ahead.
How far out do they? I mean, how far out do they track? Just every single.
Probably every hit.
Every hit?
Yes, every hit, every unique hit. So once you open up the Ramblers page, then when you start clicking around with other things, it tracks all of that, but it doesn't count it in addition to, right? So it's just that singular visit. So this is talking about visits.
So is Salt Lake City just Salt Lake City, or is it the whole Wasatch Front? Because I don't see any other Wasatch Front city listed there, which is interesting.
That kind of stuff all
probably as one. Probably.
Yeah, metropolitan areas is really what you're looking at here. So you can kind of see, I mean, we do see a difference between St. George and Cedar City, but that makes a lot of sense to us down here, right? But yeah, it is based off of,
probably the whole area.
you know, somebody who might be in Milford would count in Beaver for this kind of a purpose, or somebody who would be in, you know, any of the smaller jurisdictions.
Okay.
So please go to the next one for me, please. So we had a bunch of deliverables and tasks. This is just kind of showing you what they do, how they do, the progress that they've made, some of the grants that they've helped us on, some of the physical things that you can see, like new articles for visitutah.com, some of the page and ad updates based on our contract with utah.com. You can see we began quarterly campaigns, Q4 for snowboarding, things like that. We do have some partnerships that we're working on. That Paiute Trail is working on a new website, so they've helped us with that. The Backyard OHV collaboration is one that I'm very excited about under that partnerships tab. We're actually going to be going up to Salt Lake in February to promote the Backyard campaign. And what the Backyard campaign is it's an OHV trail that links Juab, Millard, and Beaver. And so we're the fiscal agent on that grant for this partnership. But Millard and Juab are both contributing to that, so they will be up there with me at the end of February. We have this Good Things Utah partnership coming that I'm super excited about. It's a Taste of Utah, so we're going to highlight 4 of our local restaurants in this. So we've got a lot going on.
Is that the same one we did last year? Is that the same?
Taste of Utah?
This Good Things Utah.
The Good Things Utah is a Taste of Utah, so this is specific to restaurants only. I'm not aware of what you guys did with Good Things Utah last year.
They came up to Eagle Point and did a whole segment up there.
Oh, cool. So that's more like a stay-and-play feature.
Probably was, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, this is different. They actually have a gal who goes around and, like, goes to all the local dives and, like, highlights the best things on the menu. And so,
What's her name? Because it still sounds like the same thing.
I don't remember off the top of my...
Okay.
We started this conversation about 4 months ago, and we're not to a point where we're ready to do anything in 2023. We're going to wait until March. So,
yeah,
forgive me for...
It was about the same time last year.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. For money for this?
Well, Janine Golightly is starting it, but the gal who actually does the food stuff is different.
So it's next step.
Yeah, it's an extension of the same brand,
Right.
100%.
Okay.
Are they asking for anything from us, like financial-wise?
Yeah, so we do have to have a little bit of a spend, but we actually have it already in the budget for TV ads and stuff like that. So it's actually just a really easy way to allocate that money already. So we're excited.
Perfect.
Next slide for me, Steph. So what can you expect in 2023, right? We talked about 2022. So we have some continuation and completion of things. We're adding content to the website, to the Ramblers website every month. That monthly newsletter goes out every month. Our clicks and turnover on the newsletter has been pretty good. We're sitting at just under 2%, just for your awareness. Typically, they like you to be at 2 to 2.5, and we're sitting at 1.9. So we're a little slow, so we need to optimize some stuff. But again, this is the cold month, and so although snowboarding and snowmobiling is really big, it's a slower time of year. So we anticipate that we'll be up even above where they want us to be come warm months. A couple other things, there's some social media that we've been working on, Jamboree advertising, which, by the way, that's up and counted, we had over 30 machines registered for the ride already, and it's been open since the 11th. So we're trucking along with that. We've got some money in the budget, in this approved budget off of the grant for some photo shoots. So we're going to be doing that. We're also super excited about the Rugged Skies marketing we're going to be doing. As you know, we have 5 different dark skies locations here in Beaver County, which is amazing, right? Not having any national parks or state parks in our jurisdiction to have 5 of those suckers. So we're really excited to ramp up some of the Rugged Skies. Gravel cycling is also up and coming. I actually saw an article over the weekend from the New York Times highlighting gravel cycling as the up and coming sport. So super excited that we actually jumped and got on that ahead of time. We've got all of our courses marked and mapped and everything's ready to go, so we're just going to start the marketing of that. OHV digitization, that's a hard one for me. Rock hounding and geology guide, that's also coming, and then of course we'll start looking at our 2023-2024 application for that UOT grant. Now that grant is primarily how we pay for most of these things,
right.
Just for your awareness, Commissioner. But yeah, we're going to have some new features, some photo locations, some itinerary plugins. VistaWorks is actually coming down with their new social media manager on the 18th and 19th, so I'll be spending some time with them. We have a couple new restaurants, for instance. We have a couple of things that I just think would be awesome assets to have in our catalog. So excited to work with them a little bit more, actually, here in Beaver County. So. Do I have another slide, or is that the? I think that's it. Fantastic. So.
Gravel cycling, you talked about you have the trails marked, and is that digital, or what is that?
So, it doesn't have anything to do with our NICA course, ironically. No, you're fine. It is electronic.
It is.
And so,
an app or what?
we haven't got to that point yet, deciding whether it's going to be an app or if it's going to work more like the Jamboree, where you can download the PDF and then just have that. So if you're out somewhere where you don't get reception in this county, which happens often, and we appreciate, you can actually have that thing so you don't get lost. The last thing I want to do is have people out and about doing fun things and have to then sorry for them because they've gotten themselves lost.
Yeah.
So the other cool thing we're doing with the Rugged Skies, kind of in comparison, those locations for the Rugged Skies, we're actually going to have maps put on a gator. And so that's going to be the actual deliverable, is a gator that can reference the maps for those locations. Super cool, super innovative. I'm kind of like jonesing on it. We'll see how it works. But yeah, for right now, the gravel grinding is
kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of thing.
It is. It's so fun. Well, and my daughter loves the gator for a headband. So there's lots of purposes. So I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to get some shots of this and in play and like do some really fun things to invite awareness of it. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, the gravel grinder is primarily digital but downloadable.
But not yet.
Not yet. We have the maps made, we have the courses set, but we're working on that secondary. So you start with branding and an idea of what you want and building any of the resources that you need, because typically building maps and stuff like that takes a little longer. And then the second phase is typically the actual thing, the deliverable itself, right? So the maps, the app, the whatever that looks like.
So gravel cycling, it's not trails that need to be built, it's like our high desert trails.
Yes.
It's not trails that need to be built. The great part about it is that they're just county roads, right? It's a way for people to get out and see the county, and we don't have to, Corey will regularly do the maintenance for those roads, right? But it's not something that requires in addition to, so it's really, really great. And I think it'll play well with the NICA stuff, because my hope was we have scheduled the first NICA run over Labor Day weekend. Now, if that date sticks, that's another thing, because they're working out their schedule. But we'll have one run on the NICA course this fall. But my hope is to have this gravel grinding stuff ahead of that, so we can pass some of it out at the NICA course. So when those families come in and are utilizing that course, they can then take their families out on our gravel grinding stuff and have a great time and really make this like a memorable location, not just a place where they go to take their kid to compete.
Right.
So that's my hope.
Yeah.
The only, sorry. I was just going to say, you said that we don't want to have to send our search and rescue folks out. So the one thing that I think we need to be very cautious of is, you know, encouraging tourism beyond Frisco West.
Yeah, so all of
We
this
really
gravel.
don't want to do, and I understand that,
Yeah.
I'm just saying in specific.
Correct.
We do not want to bring people out to the Indians or out like there, because we don't have to go look for them.
Right, and truthfully, that's been on the agenda and is constant in the communications is what is reasonable, right? Because there are some incredible finds out there, but it's like,
Yeah.
how can I be a good steward for these tourists coming in and make sure that they're safe, that they have a good time? So part of that is, we're cognizant of the location. But this gravel grinding primarily is actually up on this end of the county.
Yeah.
So that particularly won't,
And I'm just talking in general.
well, like the rugged skies is
Just-
one that we would have to be
right.
careful of. Mhm.
Right, because you don't want
Um,
to encourage anything out past Wawa's, like we don't exist west of the Wawa's.
I do want some people to go to the west side of the county, though, because there's a lot of things that are out
Yeah.
there, you know,
Oh,
minerals and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, but then you got no,
But you wanna be careful, like you say.
The miners, we
Right.
don't want them off in
Right.
Timbuktu.
Right.
Right, so some of the rock counties and some of the rugged skies locations we have are on that far west boundary with Nevada, and I have purposely kind of tried to stay away from those, knowing that it is so remote that it's just maybe
Somebody will get lost.
not super newbie user friendly, right? Like that's a very experienced subset, I would say, of both of those. So when I build out the rock hounding and the rugged skies locations, I make sure that they're respectful, right?
Perfect.
Yeah, that's all that, listen, coming from my previous position, like, that's the last thing I wanna encourage.
I'm not saying this necessarily for your benefit, just in general.
Yeah.
We need to be very careful
Yeah.
about where we send people to enjoy our county.
Are there any changes with VistaWorks? I mean, we still feel good with VistaWorks, we still feel like they're doing what we asked them to do, or is there any cost changes?
You know, I will be very frank with you when I say I am a pain in their neck. I require a lot. This report that you have in front of you is not something that they're accustomed to necessarily preparing, but I said, I want it, and I got it.
We had something similar to this.
Michelle's done a few things in the past. I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
So I'm aggressively making sure that they're providing me with the things that you guys might need. There's a lot being new to the position where I just need an explanation on why and what. And so I get that from them. Their communication is excellent. Our representative, Lindsay, in particular, is amazing. So she's been really great to work with. They picked up some of the grant reporting and grant management pieces, and I didn't even have to lift a finger for year-end reporting. She took all of our invoices. They keep all of that anyways, but she did all of the reporting on it, so I just said, did it get done? And she said, yeah, it's done. So they're doing a lot for us, and I feel like the quality and the caliber of what we're getting is up there.
Perfect. And to be clear, I mean, so with TRT money, you have to use a certain amount for marketing
Correct.
by law.
Correct.
State statute, and this is where this money is being, with this work, is our marketing by law.
Yes,
correct?
100%. So the way TRT works out is there are specific percentages that have to be spent on specific types of things and cannot be allocated for other types of things.
Right.
So if you guys thought that it was worth your time, I could definitely have somebody from the state come down and give you a little update on how that works and what those percentages are and what that looks like at a future commission meeting. I think it's helpful to know. And then the other thing about that is, there's a lot of grant money that comes in along with this. And so keeping that in mind too, this isn't just tax revenue received, this is also grant funding received, right?
Well, and I think that all grants are cost share, they're not just
Correct.
free money. So
Yep.
I think that's another assessment that we need to make sure is, because I think their charge is it's separate, like what they charge to write grants and report on.
It is.
Grants is separate than what we pay them for the other stuff.
It is.
So I think that we need to, maybe do an assessment on that, if that's worth it to that, or if that's something that you should be doing or need to be doing. I don't know. I I would like to see that cost comparison.
Yeah, for sure. I can work up those details and get them to you. These are the finer details that I'm still sorting through.
Right.
But yeah, I can definitely get that to you.
Yeah.
Put it on my
And just out of curiosity, I know we've looked at them before. TRT is probably going to change again. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
we're talking about a lot of that for the USAC, specifically, because there's some of the counties, Washington County, much of those that are needing a different percent allocation for uniqueness of the county,
Yeah.
right? Just like
Yeah.
Wayne County, 2 years, we tweaked it, and gave so it comes back to the clerk, the commissioners, and that to decide where the money goes instead of being mandated to only spend it on advertising, because that's what it used to be.
Right.
And so, not sure what they're gonna end up being.
There's gonna be some discussion though coming
Yes.
to this legislation,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
And then the only other thing I have for you is going to be that Tourism Day on the Hill is coming up in February. We do have a booth for that, so I will be there smiling and being a good steward for Beaver County, but I'll be very excited to see all my Salt Lake friends.
And that's February the 10th, right?
Yes, sir, correct.
Oh.
So don't be surprised if you see some city slickers coming and grabbing my ear, because I'm going to tell them that I'm there and they can come find me. Hear about my new gig.
Well, I was gonna say, it's a big day, that day. There'll be a lot of traffic.
That's also, it kind of overlaps with Chambers, Association of Chambers Day on the Hill, and they're having a conference over those couple of days, 9th, 10th, and 11th. So there is a good reason for me to kind of dip into some other things potentially, but my primary focus is Tourism Day on the Hill on the 10th, so.
Perfect.
Commissioner, we got a couple of minutes for our next item. I got a question or two for Jen.
Please.
Stephanie, could you scroll us back up to those awesome statistics that we were looking at before? Yeah, there we go, that's it. So the answer may be no, this may be impossible.
Okay.
But is there any way we can actually take this analysis to the next level and track money spent in Beaver County on the basis of the travelers?
That's a great question. Yes and no. So I would love to have some more granular detail. And I think when I think about what our UOT grant looks like for 2023, 2024, I want to have some feasibility studies in there or market studies as part of that, funding towards that, so we can actually see the spend. I want to see the spend from the OHG. I want to see the spend from the gravel grinding. Right now, the way it works, not so much. Right now, we get a monthly statement of what tax was collected. And so I can go back 5 years and say, oh, here's when the Jamboree started, this is the year. And the year prior in the same month was $2,000 less than the year following. And so I can track things if I know which month they're in. But at this point, we're to a layering feature to where it's hard to pinpoint the exact thing unless we have some of these feasibility studies in place which can actually do that for us. And so that would kind of be my hope. That would be what I would suggest, so we can really know what our return on investment is.
Exactly.
So that's one of the things I would like to look at. Obviously, the Travel Council will make some recommendations to the Commission on what we want that grant to look like and the projects within that grant. So I'll be bringing that back to the Commissioners for final decision on that as well. But yeah, if any of you have any ideas for what you want that to look like, please, I'm super excited to dig in and find it, and we can work it out.
I think that stuff is very helpful, because then it kind of helps everyone understand how important tourism is and what it does for our county, not that it's just a negative thing.
Correct.
Right? And so if you can show the positive aspect of it,
Correct.
super helpful.
Yeah. And I would like us to get to a point where my office starts communicating that out in different ways, just to create more awareness around it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really easy to assume things about how the money is spent or what it's spent on or how it's used. But I'd like to, and our travel council meetings are open and public meetings, so people can certainly come and attend those and find that granular detail through those meetings. We haven't set that schedule yet. That's coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'll get their whole year marked out. So.
Perfect.
How long have we been using this?
So my understanding is we've been under contract with them for 2 years, is it 3 years?
I say 3.
Okay, it may be 3.
Lots of 3 years.
Our contract with them goes through 2026, so for another 3 years. So we've already got that locked in and set and ready to go. That contract can be negotiated if we present the details to you and you feel like there's something that just doesn't quite fit right, so we can have those conversations.
I think, you know, in general, VistaWorks has done a really good job. We just want to make sure that it's personalized enough to our county that we still can manage what the impacts are.
Yeah. And that's always my concern. I look at what the other counties that have contracted with VistaWorks do, because I don't want an already chewed piece of gum, right? Like, I want the stuff that we decide to chase to be unique to us and individual and catered, because it's a lot of money, and so let's make sure that money is spent well, not just recycled. So yeah, I keep an eye on that, and that's why I say I'm a pain in their neck. I really am. I ask so many dumb questions just to make sure that I have those answers, so.
Well, we appreciate that, so.
Hey, I'm happy to do it. I like
Yeah,
questions.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, thanks, Jan.
I'll be back for business lessons.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Teresa, come on up. You're right on time. We're going to keep on this meeting. Yeah.
Morning.
How are you today?
Good morning. Good.
Good,
How's it going?
good.
Good.
Go ahead. Do you have anything you want to, can we get copies of that right there, if you don't mind?
This is the same thing that I already gave copies of last.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, you should already have copies of these. I just brought it with me just in case you had asked questions about it.
Okay.
So just Wade had invited me to be here today.
So there was some concerns about kind of where we're at with the CJC and the building and some costs that maybe weren't quite foreseen, is that correct? With the amount that's 8780 that was.
Right.
Could you
Yeah.
kind of go over that for us real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah, just with the budget for 2023, when we talked last, we were looking at the state and the local funding giving us the money, and then we were you said we needed to go talk to Garfield County and get partial funding from them. So I was able to do that. I'm happy to report that they were able to dedicate the money to the CJC. So for the expenses for Garfield County related to the building over there.
That's for their building only, right?
Just for anything Garfield County related. So
It's draft an MOU.
so we need to do that.
Happy to do it.
Or
Yeah.
local agreement.
Yeah, so if we can do that, if we can draft an MOU so that expenses related to them, they can send a bill to you and then their commission can pay for it. They said up to 10,000. I don't know that it will cost that much, but.
So is that for like, utilities and your building
Mhm.
costs of travel too, for you to travel over there, or?
I would think that, I think that it should.
Probably have that
I don't
MOU.
think
Do that breakdown.
If those costs
Yeah.
aren't covered through our state funding or through our local funding, then I think that Garfield County should pick up those costs of my travel back and forth. That makes the most sense to me, doesn't it?
I would think, you know, because I don't think Beaver County can pay for it. But, do you have a breakdown? Is that in that paper? And maybe you ought to have Seth just go make copies.
Yeah, let's
Brand
make
new
copies.
copies.
Yeah, this is fine.
So we got
So
something to
these
look
are,
at.
so what this is just their projections. They're not, it's not.
Well, I'm just saying,
yeah,
so we
it's
got
just
a worksheet.
So one of them is with more grant funding and one of them with less grant funding, just kind of a couple of things like maybe we could cut in this area or that area, so.
Because part of this grant, part of this budget is done, because you're on a fiscal year, so you're really, Iron County's still paying up till June 30th, right?
Right.
So we don't
Yeah.
really know what we're gonna
So, yeah,
cost.
everything is still projections, but after our last meeting in November, I was just, with going through all of the things on that sheet, I'm just like, I don't know where for sure these monies.
But there may be
are
some
gonna come
costs
from
that
to
we're not
pay
sure
for-
about, right?
Yeah, like internet,
Internet.
phone, gas, and, internet, gas, phone,
We pay
and.
gas, power, and we pay for garbage.
So there's,
Okay, I
so
thought-
there's gas,
So, will you check with Iron County, because Iron County
600.
I
That's
doubt
what
it.
the contract originally says, but they never
Mhm.
have because it's 1 liter. There's no
Mhm.
way to do
For
that
gas, okay.
on all of it.
Okay. When I talked.
So if they're paying, it's
When I
it's
talked,
not
I
4
think
hours.
it was Aaron, I can't remember, I don't know them very well over there in that office, but I believe that they told me that there was like a amount, they said that gas varies between this and this, and so that's where I got that number from.
I don't think it's our location. I think it might be one of the other, like it could be Kane, one of, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it's not,
Okay, so
because
if,
I know we pay.
so if county already pays
Dominion.
for gas, so then it's just internet, phone, and alarm, that's
So
the other
it
one.
has alarm, has telephone, has internet service, has office supplies, and printing.
Yeah.
Those 5 things are listed that
Mhm.
maybe,
And they may be
There's a
covered,
cost that
they
we're not
may
sure
be
of.
covered with our, when we get our state funds and our local funds, they may be covered in that.
Mhm.
But I'm just trying to be proactive and try and, say if we can have that, if we can have
So-
some money in account for that, then we wouldn't
Your
have to
shift
stress
is gonna
that
happen
much.
in July.
Mhm.
Who's gonna be responsible for notifying all of those, your alarm, these different internet? So they're now not billing Iron County as a billing address, they're now billing Beaver County for that.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're here to help me figure out
I'm
all
just
these
being
things
honest.
out,
I'm just
because
like
this
asking.
yeah, this is stuff that we will definitely need
Because I
to
wouldn't
figure out.
know what they're billing, like, I have no
Mhm.
idea what they've been paying for, like, specifically. I
Right.
know, like, the category that you're paying for,
Mhm.
but I don't know who is it.
Right, yeah, so like what companies and things like that.
Correct.
So
What vendors do they pay?
what would work best for the county and for us, you know?
Well, to me, it
Probably a
makes
list.
sense.
Let's do something that makes
A
sense.
list of vendors would be good and
It
their
is.
contact.
Mhm.
It is.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely provide that.
Because we can reach out through an email and say, billing address has changed and now you can come to this location.
Perfect.
But I wouldn't know who that,
Yeah, well, I can
The
get
vendors
you,
are.
I know who the vendors are, so I can.
and the account number so that we can.
And the what?
The account numbers,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
that, the vendor, because we'll need probably W-9s and, there's just.
There's a lot of things that you need to get ready.
Mhm.
So that's
We can't
good.
pay anything without a W-9,
Yeah,
and we
that's
don't,
what I heard.
we can't pay anything without it coming to us versus buying it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Teresa, it sounds like Major really doesn't even know where to start with some of this stuff, so we're
What's
gonna
that?
count on you to take the lead in notifying these folks. My
Yeah.
office will do our very best to help as
Well,
well.
and I appreciate the heads up, because this is all new to me too, so I'm
Yeah,
grateful for
absolutely.
the.
Because you never had to do the administration part of it.
Mhm. No, it's all new to me.
I mean, part of the concern is there may be some money that's not covered in the, maybe some cost that's not covered in the grant, right?
But we'll see. We're optimistic because the state has allocated more funds for victim services. What part of it will the CJC get? I don't know. We're hopeful that we'll get at
When will you
least
find that
part
out?
of that. We might find that out at the end of the legislative session, so what's that?
We need to find out before the legislative, or like right now, because I can advocate for that
Yes.
funding and make sure that each county is getting their own, their own tranche of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
we don't want the whole freaking thing to go to Iron County and then, Beaver County gets cut out
That's
of
what
it.
that's why my point of the vendors, because how do, like, who do you pay, or who have they been paying on your behalf?
Right, right.
Like, we have no idea.
Well, and the weird thing about it is the state doesn't, which, maybe your specific administrators understand the division and that we're breaking out on our own, right?
Mhm.
But the state legislators aren't going to, and so if the message isn't, hey, Beaver needs their own funding, Garfield needs their own funding,
Or
or.
revenues even, I mean, because.
Well, that's
How
what
do
I'm
the
saying,
revenues
is that how do you
funnel?
split that?
Like, what
revenue?
happens?
Can you find out who specifically, like, which office and what legislator maybe is tied to any of this stuff? Can you just shoot us an email on that kind of reporting?
Tracy Cabot probably.
So
could
Yeah,
find out.
Tracy
Yeah.
Cabot is my contact for all of that.
And
Good,
she's probably
Tracy.
the legislator. I don't know.
Will you email me specifically what you want me to ask Tracy, and then I will ask her that? Because she'll know, I think, I've heard the name Representative Ivory, but I don't know.
Yeah, Ken Ivory, he just got put back in.
Mhm.
it done.
I think what it will be is they'll probably, what it sounds like from the meetings that I've gone to is, and I don't know how it all works with counties and things like that, so I'm sorry if I'm kind of
You're fine.
not that smart yet, but I'm gonna be one day.
None of us are.
Hey, we're good at this.
Now change it.
What it sounds like from like my director's meetings is that the money would be allocated to the program, and then the program would
Would
distribute
disperse.
it throughout the county, and they would ensure.
So they
that
might have just
there was the
bottom
that were
line,
met.
and then
Mhm.
that's where we gotta go fight tooth and nail to get our piece of the pie.
And this year's gonna be tricky, because Iron County's gonna want it.
They're gonna want it all.
They're gonna want it all, but it's theirs.
Well, no, they already have theirs.
They already have it. June's
The
already
new
done it.
allocation won't start till July
Yeah.
first,
Okay.
with this legislative session.
So we need to work on this.
Yeah, we just need to make sure, you know, I keep telling everybody, you know, Beaver's the first learning alphabet for the county. And so don't forget that.
Yeah, that's right. Beavers first.
I mean, it's important that we get there and do that, because we wanna make sure we can cover this, and we want CJC to stay open, that's one of our
Oh, yeah,
biggest
we
concerns,
know.
we don't want that to not
And-
happen.
And the county showing passion and showing support for the CJC is definitely would be beneficial.
Well, you've done a good
For
job,
that,
and
while I'm here today, if I could ask for, probably some letters of support, we're gonna start the grant writing process. The
Jeff's
training.
really good at that.
Yeah.
The training
Yeah.
is February 10th for me to go to learn how to write, you know, what the grant requirements and all of that are.
So they're
I've
gonna
read
train you?
I've read through our current grant that we share with Iron King and Garfield County, so that I'm familiar with like the verbiage and things like that. So there's some bits of information that I'm gonna need, like population and things like that. Who would I ask for this?
We'll count on my office to write
Is
one.
that Jen, or is that you,
It's
Steph?
Stephanie.
Well, I think
Stephanie
you're
involved
gonna have
will
to,
help you out.
there's gonna be plenty of resources, and I think as far as, like, some of your language on grant writing, Rhonda's a lot of help.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and you know that,
Right.
and so I pick on her a lot too, but just filling in numbers and that kind of stuff, Vaughn and,
Yep.
You've got all
That's
kinds
what
of,
this great.
all of the
Well, if not, we'll figure it out.
demographic
We'll
information.
find it.
Okay, yeah, because I'm gonna need demographics and then that's another thing that I wanted to ask the commissioners about today is there specific needs in the county that you would want me to target with the VOCA grant? Is there, I mean, I know what my needs are and where I can see that the county is in need, but I didn't know if you had any suggestions or could see any problems that the funding could help with in the county.
Are there restrictions on the VOCA grant, like, we can use it for just certain things, or?
Only certain things,
Only certain things.
yeah. So basically, they can pay for personnel, travel, emergency funds, they can pay for,
training,
training. They can pay.
housing, or
Yeah.
your office expenses and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Some.
I think, so, I know you have your own council, right,
Mm-hmm,
that specifically tied to CJC.
yeah.
But you also coordinate with Victims Advocate, the Sheriff's Office, the Attorney's Office,
Mm-hmm.
and are members of those part of your council?
Yes, well, we're forming an advisory board just for Beaver. Our advisory
Okay.
board
Yeah,
before
we're-
has
what-
been with all the.
We already have an
all the-
organizing
so-
committee that's transitioning now into its role as advisory
Right.
committee.
I think that's probably more where your guidance is gonna come from than the commission.
Right,
I mean, in my
that makes
mind-
sense to me, but I just wanted to.
You know, in my mind, we wanna be as supportive as possible, but I think your advisory board, you know,
Right,
not council, I have my
yeah.
page backwards, but I think that's probably where we're a better direction.
You're on it, by the way, Commissioner, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah.
I was gone for the first meeting.
Before February 10th, to take with you?
Next week.
No, I don't think we need them before February.
Okay, you just need them.
I just need them
Okay, just let me know.
before I turn my,
We'll talk.
that's part
Yeah.
of my grant writing. So
We'll talk.
February 10th, I'll have my training, I'll learn all the ins and outs of
Okay,
writing
yeah.
the grant, and then I just wanted to give a heads up, because I'll be
Okay.
contacting different agencies.
Just let me know, I can write one from the commissioners,
wish you had nothing to do but twiddle your thumbs, but, you know, we're thankful for the service that you give. You do a good job.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
thank you, and we'll
Yeah.
definitely support you with all we can, for sure, so.
The kids are the important part, this is just little stuff on the side we can help you get through.
This is
I'm so
logistics.
grateful, because I honestly need all the help I can get, and we're learning it all. I have been learning a lot at my director meetings. We have them every month, and then quarterly, I go up to an state advisory board meeting, and I'm learning all kinds of new things.
So just because we're going to be stuck in this meeting for a while, when you get out of here, would you shoot me an email and just say, please remember to follow the funding source at the legislature, and then I can, that will be my reminder.
Okay.
A
Yeah.
to-do list is for Commissioner Pearson.
Yes, there you go, that'll remind me
Yes,
too.
I will be,
I can write it
And
down
all of us,
here,
really.
by the time the day's over, I'm gonna forget.
Okay, and I'll also let Tracy have it know that you would like that, because she's the one that's gonna have that information.
Well, if you want to shoot her my contact information as well, that
Oh,
would be
good,
helpful.
perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, good job.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Tracy.
sir, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess. Since we have one, 5 minutes, for recess.
Kickball? Yeah, kickball.
But Kyle, you are up next, so you can make your way up if you like.
It's a long walk.
It's a long
So much
walk.
more comfortable.
Yes. The hardwood bench.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to be on this side so you can plug in?
No, I know nothing.
Okay.
I really don't.
At a meeting, I came right in here. That's fun, Stephanie.
Do you want me to power you in?
I've decided the one race I'm gonna do this year, Mom. Have you heard about the, half marathon that happens in December-ish down in St. George called the, what do they call it, like the Cookie Crush or something? So it's a loop. And it's, just shy of, or just a little more than 3 of them make the half marathon.
Sure.
But every time you come through on your loop, you have to crush like either a cookie or a cupcake or a treat. It's
Like you don't
freaking-
inhale it, you just crush it.
It's freaking delicious. It's my favorite race of the whole year.
There's one in American Fork that does bike, it's
With
bike
bike?
racing, but it's donuts.
Yeah,
So you,
yeah.
every time you come through, if you eat a donut, it takes, so many laps or
And if you don't
miles or-
have a treat at the one down in St. George, oh man, all hell breaks loose and you don't get a finisher medal.
Oh, that's serious.
Very
At some point,
Yeah.
at some point, you have to eat one of them.
One of something, and then they have an award for whoever eats the most number of desserts. Like you could go for the Candy Crush Queen or whatever. And I think the last time I did it, the top number of desserts consumed was like 45. During a half marathon.
How did they even run after that? How did they even finish? That's crazy.
No,
It's
wild.
intriguing though.
Well, you can sign up for a team and just do like a 5K. So each person takes a lap.
So I could maybe take the treats after my 5K and then I would throw up in the morning.
Next one, if you guys are around, state copyright.
So anyways, I've decided that's my one race
Okay,
this
that's
year
your
that I'm
race. You
gonna.
said that's your race. Okay.
Jamie should have sent it to everyone, but if not, I will, make sure. We next Wednesday at 6 PM. No? Okay, yeah, she's been out all last week with sickness and her husband.
All right, welcome back after our short recess. No kickball was played, but we still got a break. All right, we're gonna go on next item of agenda, county business license. Kyle and Jen's up here with me too, so go right ahead.
Okay,
We had some
so,
discussion on this, huh, Kyle?
we do, if, I can steal that, or if you just wanna pull up the ordinance in the old drive, do you have access to the old drive right now?
I have the ordinance and the definition, whichever one you want. The ordinance is,
You may have to pull up the new, I added some things this morning, so.
I mean, if you can find it, it's fine. Or you can send me whatever you want to do. Did you add it in all right?
Yes.
Okay, I know that.
So, from the public hearing that we had last time, obviously questions and things like that were brought up, and so I did a little bit more research and did a little bit of updating with the requests, I guess. I would say the overwhelming was that exemptions probably shouldn't be had for certain businesses, that everyone should be treated the same, is kind of what I got out of that. Now, obviously, you guys, if you feel different, by all means, we can do whatever you guys think. But I went in and removed in 315. There's some updating, so steps pulling up the current ordinance there. So.
And just to be clear, we're talking about farming, is that right?
Correct, yep. Farming business, 315 exemption. So, right there we had, in number 2, it was a bona fide farming, that is, it's not. But anyways, we can just use that. And so what I've done is I've removed number 2 as a bona fide farming and ranching operation, as what has been discussed. But again, that's just things that are discussed, and so we can discuss that now, or if you guys feel that should be part of it. If you want, I can go over a couple other changes, and we can come back to them, whatever you guys want to.
I think my only question, even when I read it originally, stay there.
Oh.
Sorry, I just
I
can't.
have like 700 things open, let's see, where are we?
Yeah, the only thing that I would scratch on that is a bona fide farming and ranching operation that is authorized to collect state sales tax or something to that effect, is not exempt. I mean, if you're gonna take it out in general, or what's you're just gonna scratch that all?
I was just removing it from the discussion of, hey, everyone is treated equally. But again, if you guys feel, right, that a farmer that is selling products to another farmer and not on the shelf should be exempt, then by all means we can leave it in there, right? I don't have a preference either way.
Well,
So
I
I know
know
that
the only, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, I just got to clarify this in my own head. The purpose of a business license is for the public, right? Is protecting
public safety,
public
things
safety,
like that,
those
yeah.
kind of things. And so, what?
It's not worker safety or...
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be employees and public.
So, right, so employees or the public, so that's why we're talking about the business license, for those 2 reasons.
Correct.
Wholly, right?
Yeah.
So who really falls into that category, I think, would be the ones I would suggest we need the business license.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's probably not a
Yeah,
useful thing.
if you're not, because, most ag people, have some sort of a tax ID necessarily doing public,
Right.
I don't know.
It is useful for statistical purposes, just knowing what businesses are out there.
Right.
What do we have here? Businesses are in operation, useful information.
That is useful, some people don't like that, though.
And
I
that's
agree with
probably
that.
the overwhelming, information that I've got back from other jurisdictions is that's why we don't exempt farming and things like that. We wanna know all of the businesses that are happening in our jurisdiction, but.
Well, it allows us good metrics too for other things. There are different grant programs out there that we could apply for if we had the numbers up front and said, yeah, our 80% of our customer base is ag-based business or ag innovation or whatever, and so that could allow us to apply for other grant funding sources that could really help the county. But if we don't know what those numbers are, then we're just
We
out
don't know.
for that.
Yeah.
Is there another way to acquire those statistics?
Not without a voluntary poll of the county residents and hoping that they give that feedback to us. A lot is talked about with the tax ID numbers, and that's an identifiable thing, but as we've discussed in previous meetings, we don't always have that actual information to it.
Or access.
Yeah, or even asking nicely, we can't even get access, right, because there are protections in place. So this is a really good way to get the metrics for those kinds of things.
Well, and I think that I kind of want to mention too, there are some businesses that actually need a business license to function that are not within a city boundaries, and so this is another reason why we were looking at this to allow those businesses to function and work.
Correct, so talking to Milford City, I was gonna bring this up the last meeting, and they actually have issued, they don't have an exact number, she said we don't keep, records of those numbers, but they think around 12 to 15 businesses outside of Milford City that they are actually getting business licenses for. So here's an example, I did one on Rollins Machinery a few years back when it was purchased by Mike, because he needed one for his insurance and something to do with the state of Utah doing whatever it is he's doing there with the manufacturing. And so he had to get one from Milford City, which doesn't have the jurisdiction to issue one, but at least he could get something to send to his insurance and send to the state. And so I ended up doing a walkthrough at that place because he wanted the same thing. He's like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm in compliance. So if any of my employees, like, I don't want anything to happen to them. He doesn't have like patrons coming to his work and that, but he does want to protect his employees, and so there's an example of one.
Well, as a business owner, and not, we've never got into a lot of this, but if I was doing custom work and, more of that public thing, I can guarantee you that to get liability insurance, to do your workman's comp, all of that stuff is going to require a business license.
Correct.
And I know that for a fact because I've been in that end of stuff. And so it makes sense if you're a legitimate company and you're not trying to do things that are not above board, you want to be registered. You want to have all of those insurances lined up and, cover your own butt, not just, protect the public interest or your employees.
Yeah, and under another thing to go off of that, there was, protection, people didn't want the county coming in and looking at their numbers and things like that, and that's not what we're doing. And in fact, under Utah law, it's 1753-216, 4C2.
Got it right here.
That a business disclose financial information, inventory amounts, or proprietary business information except as specifically authorized under state and federal law, meaning we can't ask for any of that stuff under Utah law. We can't go in there and ask for that type of financial information, which we shouldn't, right? That's not the reason we're doing
Not the
business.
purpose of
Exactly. And so I know that was brought up in the public hearing of, hey, we don't want people to come and look at all that information and give that. We're not doing that, and we can't do that under Utah law anyways. And so that's something that I wanted to bring up is we're not going that route by any means.
Right, that's some of the phone calls I think that they're worried about us just coming and doing whatever. I'm like, I don't think that's our goal at all.
Correct.
That's not our goal.
And like the Fourth Amendment, in fact, if you wanna go, so that's exemptions right there that, I
Oh, yeah.
removed. So that number two
This
is
is your new
removed,
one?
this is the new
Okay.
one.
The Fourth Amendment applies to searches and seizures in criminal cases.
Correct, and that's what I was just gonna bring up.
That's
So,
exactly what they were saying, that, I'm like, you guys don't even understand.
that's what I was gonna bring up, is that's not, right, it's,
Not relevant.
relevant law there, but if we wanna come.
Do we have, sorry, Kyle, do we have in there that, there are, like inspections or?
So that's what, that's what I'm going to. So
Okay,
we'll go
okay,
to
sorry.
318.
Tell us what the purpose of this is.
So this is your inspection. So, right, the whole purpose of these are for life safety. And so it's protecting individuals that are going there and also employees. And so I added 319 inspections exemptions right down there, that's highlighted. And it says an inspection is not required for any home-based business that does not employ individuals other than family members, and where the public is not accessing the site for the purpose of goods and services. Meaning, we don't need to do a home inspection or a business license inspection on a home-based business that really isn't employing individuals outside of their family and the public's not going there, right? Because that's the purpose of the inspection, is to make sure the life safety of employees and patrons that are showing up, it's happening. But if the employees are your family members and people aren't actually coming to your place of business, I feel that it would be an exemption of an inspection. So, that's obviously something you guys.
I mean, so these inspections already kind of happen with this conditional use permit. I mean, if someone's coming to get a CUP for, let's say, an Airbnb or something, that's already been done per se.
Correct, it's already something that we've been doing for all, right, because you're changing
the
the use. And under Utah law, anytime you change the use of, right, say I'm now putting a hair salon in my basement, as soon as you change that use to non-residential or a bedroom or whatever, under Utah law, it says, hey, a change of use requires these actions, and an inspection is one of those. And if you go up a little bit, step to 318.
Which has already been happening though.
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
318, I did change, I added the zoning administrator and fire marshal because a fire marshal is required under Utah law anyways to be doing business license inspections, right? So any business license inspection that we're currently doing for Milford City or Beaver City, those fire marshals in the areas, either George Humphreys or Les Whitney, are required to do a fire marshal inspection also, right? So they're checking fire extinguishers and exit signage and exit lighting and things like that.
And
no
that's
matter what.
standard business.
Correct, that's a Utah,
Standard business
right, that's a
procedure.
Utah pretty much law for fire marshals. They have the allowance to pretty much walk into any business if they feel that there's a life safety issue to do those inspections. And so, I added the fire marshal in there just because, it's supposed to be in there anyways, but under Utah law, it's already supposed to be doing those things.
So to clarify as well, we're not gonna overstep on city licenses, right? They have their own rules and regulations.
Correct, yeah.
This is just outside
This is just
a city limit.
Yeah,
Unincorporated.
unincorporated areas of the county. So again, we're not, and then we actually discussed a little bit last time of, hey, we're not, if you have a license in the city and you're going, your primary building and everything is inside that city, but you're going and doing work here and there outside in the unincorporated, we are not requiring building business licenses for those businesses.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
There may be no answer to this question, but another, I guess, concern that was expressed by the public during the open meeting was just government overreach, this idea going to be a means of the government kind of getting in people's business and being too intrusive and invasive. So have you done anything, or is there anything that we can do to kind of address that concern about this not being a tool for turning Beaver County into a police state, but rather this just a way of gathering statistics and making sure that customers and employees are safe?
Yeah, I think that was more of just,
A broad philosophical concern.
correct, right, of, hey, we don't want government overreach and things of that nature. And that's not what we're doing, and that's why right on 319, I said, all right, if there's no business impact with employees or the public coming to that site, I guess we don't need an inspection there, right? And so, again, this is to protect the life safety of individuals that are working and going to a business. And then also, it actually will help move some of our conditional use requirements into a permitted use now, like a home-based occupant or a home-based business. We can now remove out of our conditional uses and put it in as a permitted, and then allow for the basics that we have here in this license. So, if anything, I think we're going to help ease the home business aspect of business licenses. And again, if your use is not allowed in that zone anyways, this doesn't affect it, right? It has to be allowed in that use to begin with, or you can't do it there no matter what, right? So if you're running a mechanic shop out of your garage in the county and it's not allowed in that zone anyways, this business license isn't going to stop it. The zoning is stopping it, because the zoning is already there. It's already the stamp of what is allowed in the area. And so, again, this isn't stopping any businesses. This is pretty much saying, hey, if you're doing business and doing it the right way, we just want to make sure that it's done the proper way, and then you're good to go.
And again, having a business license on the county level is consistent with what other rural counties are doing elsewhere throughout the state.
Well, every county, I was going to say,
So, with that, I mean, so is there, the state law does not require us to do business?
It doesn't require it.
Technically?
You
Although I look on this, I look on this one,
than a shop.
on the State Utah Department of Commerce, it says you are. So, I'm confused a little bit.
You have the statute in front of you.
No, Brandon, the other.
And for people to do business, they have.
I think the other one that he just handed to you that's stapled together.
There we go, it's been passed around too many times.
Why don't you look at that one, see what that tells you? I'm confused on that one. Read that one.
the Department of Commerce makes
Yes.
it sound like it does.
It does.
And that's from the conversation I had with
Let me read this one.
a few of those
So we're going to
individuals.
switch, so subsection 2, a legislative body of the county may by ordinance provide for the licensing of a business. So that's what I'm telling you.
Interpret that one for me, will you?
Right, and this one, State of Utah Department of Commerce, all businesses operating in Utah must be registered with the Department of Commerce and licensed with the city or county in the state. The following information explains the benefits of registration.
Yeah, so what you got in front of you there is Utah State Code. That's our law, that's Utah State law. This looks like an administrative policy. That's what it looks like. That's the difference.
That's
That's
the
the
difference.
administrative policy,
Okay.
that is Utah State statute.
Okay. Perfect.
So just to do this though, because it explains all businesses in Utah are required by law to register with the Utah Department of Commerce, either as a DBA doing business as, corporation, LLC, limited partnership. Businesses are also required to obtain a business license from the city or county. Now, I think a lot of this stuff, applies to agriculture itself, because you have to have that tax ID number for so many different things. And then, registration is required so that a comprehensive state registry of all businesses and corporate information is available for public reference. This information is vital to an orderly legal system and marketplace. Without it, the public or other businesses may have no way of knowing the persons with whom they are doing business. And I know that, there's a, what do they call it, like a Better Business Bureau and different things like that, which is more of like an association. It's not, it's not required. You pay a membership or whatever, but then you are ranked, or can be ranked, kind of like, oh shoot, what do they call it? Where you can actually get like on a Google site or
Like a
whatever.
Yelp or one of those.
Or review.
And,
SEO optimization.
yeah, there's several different ranking things, you know, like, you're a five-star restaurant, or you're a
Yeah.
five-star hotel, or different, it's a report card kind of thing, and public input, right? But I think in this, you know, it's no different than anything else that we do in the county, it's a support system. I think we can help support our businesses. I'm not trying to restrict anybody, and it's just this mental block that good government's getting your business. That's not what this is about. But we can also help them advertise. We can help, you know, resources,
Yeah.
like if they need help, you know, ship them to the grant writing pool or whatever else. You know, there's just so many different support services that we can provide, I think, on county level.
Yeah. So the report card that you spoke of, that to me is like something that was 10 years ago. Now it's a Google review.
Correct.
Social media takes care of that for us. We don't
We
need
don't
that.
manage any of it.
No.
The
So
better-
there's a way to still do that without that report card, the Better Business Bureau.
Yes, the Better Business Bureau has certainly seen more prestigious days than they currently see.
Yeah,
However,
that's old news.
it is something that a lot of people still utilize when they feel like they've had a problem with a local business and they don't really know where to go, because it is, you know, unless there's a life safety issue, right, like we've talked about, there's very little the government can do for some of those things, when somebody just feels like they got cheated out of a transaction. That's where the Better Business Bureau steps in and can kind of enable some things. And so it does work. It does work with more like a Rate My Professor, right, like a user experience platform.
Right. Kyle, you're gonna say something before, sorry, I cut you off.
I was just gonna bring up, a couple months ago, I sent you guys a little national PowerPoint on short-term rentals, and I'll use that as kind of an example here, is that, short-term, you have the hotel business, and, you have cruise lines, and all of these businesses where, people are coming to those areas. All of those businesses are required to have certain standards, right? With
Right,
fire safety
right.
and building and code and things like that. Or short-term rentals don't, right? It's whatever standard a local jurisdiction has. And so you have airplanes and short-term, cruise ships and hotels and all of those combined. There's more life safety and injuries in short-term rentals than all of those combined, which is crazy, right? I mean, it shows you, but it's because most
There are no
short-term rentals,
standards.
there are no standards, right?
Right.
We just barely did one, a couple weeks ago, and they were using a room in a basement with no windows or anything like that, or wanted to, for a bedroom, right? And we said, hey, this cannot be used as a bedroom. There has to be an egress window or doorway outside of this to the exterior for this purpose of life safety. If there's a fire, right? And the individual had no idea, right? I mean, they're just starting an Airbnb, and she's like, wow, I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, you don't want that liability, right, of that happening. And then, of course, they're going after you. And then they're going to come after the county, because no offense to lawyers, but, right, lawyers and insurance companies are going to do whatever they can to help facilitate the money.
That is one big issue. The county will be liable for that also. So that's a big issue for us to make sure that people are doing things right.
And
Standard.
in that PowerPoint, the guy that does it, like, he goes all over the country and advocates for nightly rentals, but also safety in nightly rentals. And he brought up the purpose of, hey, we want to make sure that people that are coming here are safe, right? If my family's coming here, I want it to be safe also. He's like, I don't stay in hotels anymore. I only stay in these areas, but I want to make sure it's safe. It's no different than any other business that's out there, right? If there's a restaurant or whatnot that's out there, we want to make sure that it's safe. We want to make sure the individuals that are in there are safe while they're sitting there eating. Nothing else, right? And as long as that's there, I think we're good on the safety side of the.
Well, and you know, to be fair and honest, I think that's what's red flagged this issue, right?
Correct.
Because those are the things, those are the complaints, those are the reports that we had on, and this is statewide, it's not unique to Beaver County, that there are certain standards and you get dumped in a one-star, you know, nightly rental that's not safe, and the porch caves in on you, or the bedroom,
Right.
you know, I mean, the roof collapses or something like that, and so, you know, there should be a standard, and we should be able to trust that the people in our county are doing business
And,
right.
and one more thing that was brought up in the public hearing is people brought up and said, hey, you know, let us kind of
Trust us.
trust. And I think that's exactly what we want, it's just that people don't know all of the rules and regulations. We want to be able to trust. It's just like, I'll use the building aspect of it. I have a job for a reason on the inspection side of in new construction. And whether it's a contractor that's been doing work for 30 years or an electrician that's been doing it for 20 years, that doesn't mean that they are perfect on every job, or that they forget to do something or bypass something that they weren't intentionally trying to, right?
Right.
It's just one of those, it's a second set of eyes for that reason. And that's kind of what it comes back to is, I don't think the individual that was doing the nightly rental, that was putting them in the basement, intentionally wanted to do that. They just didn't know, right?
Right.
It was a sitting room, and they thought, oh, well, I'm just gonna use this as a bedroom, right? And they didn't intentionally say, I'm gonna try to get away with something. They just didn't know the rules and regulations of egress and proper egress for emergencies.
Well, and I wanna thank you for what you do, because I've had, I mean, there was a lot of people trying to hit you over the head for this kind of stuff, and a lot of kind of false advertising, and I had people coming in out of the woodwork that I didn't expect, that said if it hadn't been for your department, they had construction companies out of Iron County and different places come building homes, and they're all kinds of frustrated over, you know, they're not getting done, but it was during the housing COVID and all that stuff, but you guys are the ones that said, hey, we have a certain snow load, you need more afters, you need all the support in the roof and the construct, like you said, maybe not intentionally, but they were not up to code for our area, and if it hadn't been for you, the kids or whoever that had that contract or had contracted with those people, they didn't know the difference.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know what those requirements or what the safety features and those kind of things are. And so, thanks for what you do. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I get told that all the time, thanks.
When they wanted to be in their
You didn't get told twice today. Thank you again.
Actually, most contractors, right, do say thank you, because, right, I'm inspecting the subs, right, that they're hiring, and most contractors will say, hey, yeah, make sure they're doing
right.
they're supposed to. But one more thing I'll bring up, I talked to Shane Gadball on this issue. Obviously, he has lots of businesses up on the mountain. He has lots of nightly rentals and Airbnbs up on the mountain. And he is all for business licenses to protect himself, right? And he said, I get a bad rap when someone throws a nightly rental out there and it's not up to our par or whatnot, and people come in and say, they kind of attribute that to his resort, and then also his restaurant. He said, hey, you know, we want to make sure that we don't have liability, or we're not doing something that could cause an accident or an issue with the restaurant or whatever other business that they're doing up there. So, you know, he would probably be the largest affected individual in this county with how much he's all for it. He's never said anything against having business licenses or performing things like that.
And with this idea, I think for us, we would make this be as easy as possible to attain the license, to pay for it, and just, it's all gonna be online, it'd be a one-time thing, pay the license, and that's basically gonna probably be it for the most part.
Yeah, for most, that's pretty much
Probably
what
gonna be
it
it.
is. I was gonna
Simple and
say,
easy.
I
That'd be
brought
it.
that if you wanted to take a quick look at, I'm not sure what our time is, but
You're good.
if you, Steph and I, feel that, you know. Just so you guys
Chairman, can I ask a question?
kind of see.
Sure.
I just thought, well, I want Kyle to hear too, because he'll probably be the one answering. Aren't farmers already covered under the balloon of not collecting tax from anyone that they're doing business with? So they would be exempt anyway, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's for if they are doing a business that is outside of that scope of,
Yeah.
pretty much
Outside
collecting
tax.
sales tax, right?
Yeah.
So if they're, we'll use Brandon and Tammy as an example. If Brandon sells Tammy hay or Tammy's cows, that's not a transaction for sales tax. But if Commissioner Pearson had a business where then she turned around and put that hay for sale on the open market, right, like an IFA or something like that, that's where Brandon would then have to, like, do
So
that.
they don't need to be,
Correct.
because they're not paying it anyway, so.
So that's kind of what that number 2 exemption was previously, was, hey, if they're not doing those things, they're not required to get a business license, so.
So this is the website right here,
Well, that's not, but I'll skip to it. So we've created a portal here for business license, and so I'll kind of show you, obviously, there's no inspections or applicants.
You must have cleared your calendar
For
for
business licenses, and so anyways, I'll click in here. This is a permit. It's pretty much, the information that you put in here with your project name, applicant name, contact information. Probably won't let me continue without, any of those, but that's pretty much
it.
what it is right there, on the application. You throw that stuff right there, and then it kicks, you, on the next page, you have to do pretty much a digital signature of saying, hey, you are who you are, say you are, and you, are doing this business license to submit it. And that's pretty much it. It's a one page, and then what it will do on the back side is it will kick it to, there's not one in there now, but it will kick it to this plan review, which will give almost a multi-department option. So it'll kick to the fire marshal, so he will know. He doesn't have to approve anything, but just so he is aware that, hey, a business has come in, where the location is, what it is, whether it's on this side of the county or the other side. It'll kick to,
That's my question.
It'll kick
At
to
this
the
point, it'll kick to me.
yeah, it'll kick, so it'll be to both of us. And then it'll also go, most likely, depending on what it is, to Jen. So she will have her kind of record on her side of things also. And so
Does it generate the certificate within the module?
it will generate the license and everything, and then we will be able to issue the certificate either through a PDF, just like we do with our certificate of occupancies, or we can print it out and they can come and physically get a printed out copy. We do that option for certificate of occupancies also, in case, hey, I don't wanna print out my own stuff, right? Some people don't have printers now, they just have electronics, and so we give that option of, hey, we will print this out if you want, otherwise you can click on this and it gives you everything right there and you can print it out. So, now those that would require, right, a restaurant or something of that nature, there will be an inspection category in there for on-site inspections of.
That's what I was gonna say, are there steps according to the category that the license is in, right?
Correct.
So there's, there'll be more, it'll kick you to the next page, like, you know.
Not necessarily for them, but for us, yes, right?
Okay.
So once it's submitted, it categorizes it on what they put it on, right? If they put it, hey, this is going to be a restaurant, or this is gonna be a home-based business where I'm doing my accounting work and, you know, whatnot. And people are coming to my place, right? If no one's
Right.
coming there, they would be exempt
So
anyway.
in my mind, like I'm a restaurant or I'm a drive-through or I'm whatever I am. So you do that initial step and then there should be a next step follow through pertaining to whatever license you're doing, right?
Correct.
So like, here's your next step of instructions, you're done, or you need to, you know, get your certificate printed off so
Yep.
you can hang it on your wall, or else here's your next steps. You know, you need to have a building inspector, or you need to have a food inspector, or, you know,
Yeah.
those next steps pertaining to whichever business you
Yeah.
are in.
So I'll give you an example of like, Milford City, right? They have these categories of, depending on what the license is. If there's a food handler's permit of that nature that's required, the health department is required to do an inspection at that site before a business license is given.
Is
And that's,
that annually or one time?
that's a one-time thing there. Now, the health department is not, that is an annual, right? The health department is required to show up whenever, obviously, for our safety
And
of
I
knowing
think it's
that.
random, and it's.
Correct.
I don't think.
But that's nothing to do with the county, they're on their own.
Right. I don't know.
No, right, this is more of notifying the health department and say, hey, there's a we have a new business in town, and it's a restaurant, or something that's handling food, and you need to be here to do an inspection. So they have these checklists of, once that's done, well, I did one at the bar on Friday in Milford. And so they had to have the health department.
What time on Friday?
It was 2:30.
Okay,
Actually 12:30, sorry. So they weren't open yet, so no. He had the sheet there, and he had the health inspector that had come and signed off on it and gave that approval. And then I did mine, Les Whitney had done his already, and so once all three of those were there, that's when Milford City actually issues that business license. If it's a everyday business license of, you don't need all of those things, they issue it pretty much like this would be almost same day, right? As soon as you pay, it's all same day.
But some of them are gonna have more boxes to check.
Correct, yeah. I mean, if this is a new restaurant that's being built, from the dirt up, obviously all of those inspections will have been done on the building side of it.
Right.
And the
Right.
fire marshal will be involved all through that process, and so that's something that they won't have to come back and get again. Like, they just built a home up on the mountain, a cabin, and finished it, and 2 weeks later, he came in to do an Airbnb, right? He wanted to do a nightly rental.
But you've been involved in all the
And
stuff.
I'd already done it, so I
Right.
said, awesome, we can issue all of that right here, right now. All he had to do was show a picture of, we're required to have kind of managers and that information when you're there, so emergency contact information. But other than that, it was all in and out.
So you made the comment, sorry, I feel like I'm asking all these questions and interrupting you all the time, but, you mentioned that would transition from a conditional use to a permitted use on a lot of different things, right?
That we could change, yeah,
Right.
we could change those.
So at what point in time, or maybe, before these go into play, will there be a list, like, will there be categories or columns, sections, and whatever that are, is that something that you can do
That's
in-house
something-
as far as
No, the
administratively?
planning and zoning will
Okay.
we'll have to go through the planning and zoning process of adding, right, on some of those conditional to permitted. Then it will come obviously to you guys for the final, we'll have a public hearing on planning and zoning, and then you guys will get that final say on whether or not to be allowed as a permitted. Because most home-based businesses, right, in my opinion, have one for a doctor's office, right? Okay, that may be a
You
little
might get
bit
in
more
trouble.
intrusive, right? If Wade's having, patients come all throughout the day, it may be a little bit more intrusive, but hey, guess what? Right, if you have a public drive and no one else is accessing that point, what's the point of having a conditional use permit when you can do it all through permitted, not have to go to planning and zoning, not have to go to county commission, and just be quick and easy?
So I don't watch a lot of TV, but I have to tell you this, because this was so funny. I walk in, I turn on the TV, I don't even know what channel it was on, but they were talking about like a renter, and they were having a hard time getting money out of the renter or something like that. And so they go to do this, like, go get their money, and the renter was renting it out, like subletting. And this is why I have to say this too, it was so funny. The first item on your agenda was adult-oriented businesses. And I'm like, oh! You changed the channel.
It happens, that's something we see. I saw particularly a lot of in Utah County is you have a business that's operating as like a massage therapy location, and actually what ends up happening is it's an adult-oriented business. Now, whether they can be there lawfully or not, like there are differences, right? But this is one of those things that allows for those metrics and
Actually, that's good that you brought that up. That's something that Washington County brought up, is that people say this is what they're doing
Right.
until you actually show up, and they had something
They
similar.
have a lot of trouble with it in Washington County the last few years.
correct. There's been a spike over the last several years. So that's another reason why this is a good thing that allows us to kind of
You want to be able to trust people, but
Trust but
verify, right? That's the saying there, because people don't always do what they say they're doing. And again, back to the point of this, we're not trying to shut any businesses down, right? All we're trying to do is make sure that any individual that's using that business is protected and that the business is protected also.
Right. Any other questions?
So Kyle, because I'm a farmer, I have some questions on the farming.
Okay?
Like, help me understand what the benefit of obtaining a business license is as a farmer. So I already have a customer base. I have more customers than I have product. I don't need any help that way. If I need a grant, I have a grant writer. I've been doing this without the county's help for 15 years. How am I going to sell this to the farmers? Because they get angry sometimes.
So I would actually say, right, going back to the bona fide with number 2 that was in there, that probably should be left in there, right? I pulled it out because of everyone saying, hey, we should all be the same, everyone should be treated the same. Even though one of those same individuals is the one that came and sent us the new law that they put in 2019, number 6 of, sorry, I don't have it pulled up here, but I would say, back to what I said earlier, if you're doing work like a farmer and you don't have any building or structure or office, that you're actually having individuals that are coming there and sitting down and selling product, you probably would be exempt from a business license like we originally had. Because what is the purpose of it, besides the metrics that they brought up earlier of kind of knowing the business? I'm not sure what benefit there would be for the county or for us or the farmer in obtaining a business license. Maybe those that don't know, right, the grant.
That comes with another legal, I guess, question for legal, and it's public perception, whether we like it or not. There's 2 ag producers on the board. It looks like we're giving ourselves a break.
Right.
Is that right?
That was brought up in the public hearing. But
Yes.
Well, and I think, perception,
Whether we like it or not, it's
whether we
still
like
perception.
it, is still their reality, right?
Yes.
And it's kind of like going back to like the CAPOs. We knew what the CAPO ordinances and the laws coming down, but they brought everybody else into it because they wanted to throw everybody in the mud,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so it's just easy to point fingers and blame everything else rather than what the necessity or the need is. In my mind, the only thing as agriculture that I can see any kind of difference or clarity is not the right word for it, but would be a custom business, kind of like what you guys do, where you're coming onto somebody else's property and providing a service and leaving. But I know that you have liability
I have a
insurance, you have
liability
all that
insurance, I
kind of
have
stuff already.
workman's comp, I have
Right.
farm safety training that we do anyway,
And
so
that's the same way we are, whether, I don't know that we don't do custom for anybody, but I'm not sure that there's a value there.
So another question, you said right now the fire marshal can already inspect business if he feels it necessary.
A business that's obtained with a business license, yeah.
So they have to have a business license for him to inspect.
I would have to, that's outside of my scope, because I'm not
My
sure what
feeling
his
is,
requirements,
if that's
what
the
he can and
case,
can't do.
leave that off. We don't
Yeah.
even need that to be on there. And then, another question or thought is, kind of free trade comes into this a little bit with the rankings. I'd say an Airbnb guy, he has a liability insurance, he has insurance, and I'm sure he has insurance inspections that come in and inspect his place from time to time also. And then the public has a lot to pull.
It depends on if they're registered.
Yeah, if they actually do that, you trust the verify, so if they haven't done that, then they're probably not doing that.
Most insurances are not doing those inspections.
Inspections.
Correct.
But the public is doing an inspection every time they stay there. If it's a one-star Airbnb, they have the option not to rent that. Or if they find something they don't like in that Airbnb, my wife is way better at this than I am. She'll get on there and rate for good or bad every time we go to an Airbnb.
Yeah.
And I think that public has a lot of weight on the open market, on people if they want to use those or not.
And I guess the argument would be is, we go to Southern California and rent, Airbnbs quite often. And the good thing about that is when we show up, they've been doing it for 40+ years down there. When we show up, I don't have to worry about whether or not there's actual smoke alarms in the building, right? Or whether there's a fire extinguisher, or the life safety aspect is already taken care of. If I show up and there's not any of those things, I don't have any recourse of walking away because I have to pay for it no matter what at that point. And I have stayed at one in Idaho where there were no smoke alarms. The adequacy of the life safety was not even there. And so it's one of those, I'm already here.
Did you give them a citation?
Oh, I can't give a citation, but I wrote a letter, right? I wrote a letter to
Sure, and it
the
probably helps.
homeowner, not necessarily the company, but to the homeowner, and I said, just so you're aware, these are major life safety deficiencies that you have, that if something were to happen, right? My wife doesn't sleep if she knows, right, that those things are there, and so, because it's probably my fault,
But you're
I
a
worry about her, right?
You're a building inspector, and the general public's not gonna know
Correct,
any of
so I
that.
point all,
Yeah.
every time I walk into anywhere, right, if I'm watching a show on TV, I'm like, no, that's that glass shouldn't have been tempered, right, so my wife doesn't like to watch movies with me, right? Handrails, all of those things, right?
Yeah, this isn't right.
The general public doesn't know those things, and so when I start pointing them out to my wife, and then roll over to go to bed, she's like, we're gonna die in this place tonight, right? And if previously, right, if that's not taken care of, and we don't know those things, then we're walking into something that we can't just walk away, right?
So the things that worry me is, I was a very naive child when I moved to Logan and went to college for 4 years. And I lived in the dorms, right? And I can't remember all the specifics of it, but they would get, this is back in the old days of starting to have off-campus housing everywhere. And there was like I said, I can't remember all the details, but one of these apartments went up in flames, and nobody died, right? But as a kid, or as a renter, nobody had ever said to you, you have to have renter's insurance, right? And you should be looking at, you're just a kid, you're out wiping your pants, you're living on your own, you're happy, free, and whatever color you are, and those kids lost everything, right? And so this is the kind of stuff that I worry about. I mean, I have stayed in an Airbnb on the coast in California, one of the only ones we ever stayed. We got there and we're moving and we're like, okay, this is kind of like a cardboard shack kind of thing. I mean, we got what we got, right? And we probably paid for it. But for those people that are coming to our county, I think there should be standards and there should be, I think we're accountable as well.
It goes back to the conversation we had earlier about tourism on the west side and making sure that we, the county, can respond to things appropriately. And, you are looking at a group of 7 to 8 people here who talk and think about these kinds of things on the daily. For the vast majority of the public, I would say fire safety probably isn't like a commonplace thing where they walk in and they say, oh, there aren't fire detectors, smoke detectors, or oh, that battery's not charging. Carbon, yeah, 100%. It's not something that they necessarily consider. They're looking out the window and looking at the view of the surf coming in. They're looking up at the mountain here in the county and saying, God, we can't get this at home, right? They are privileged enough to be able to not have that experience that shapes the way they look at the world. And so having these allows us to continue that for them, continue that experience for them, so they're only looking at the mountain. Everything else is taken care of.
One less worry, right? And so that's kind of the largest nightly rental that we have in the county. Put in a room in the basement with over 34 bunks or 35 bunks. And when they were doing it, they contacted us. This is well before we had any rules or regulations. And we're talking, and I said, make sure you're going to have to cut in a window, because this was a food storage, is what it was used for. And so they went in and got a building permit and put in a window. But, I mean, most may not call, right? And so,
Well,
anyway.
the way I look at this too is you could have this just be a personal thing and only thinking about yourself only, but we kind of have to worry about all the people who come into the county, plus the people who actually live here. And so it's not just about these two, the agriculture or myself. This is not about me or just us personally. This is about being safe and, looking after all the people who come to the county. And this is why this is kind of been coming about, I think, and for the safety of the businesses themselves as well. Yeah, anyways. Any other questions?
No, I think we still have some tweaking and stuff we can do to.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine, yeah.
In the future, Kyle, I would just make one suggestion. Don't ever start an ordinance with what's gonna happen to you if you don't follow that ordinance. Let's put that in the back somewhere. Start with why we're doing this, explain to the general public what the reason is, and they're a lot more accepting of.
Yeah.
Well, and I think.
And I know we can still move that around.
Yeah, correct. I was going to say, we can adjust, for sure. We can adjust.
It's messaging.
Yeah.
And perception. I do think that we need to have a significant grace period.
Yes.
As well. I mean, I've said that
I
before,
would,
but,
yeah, I would agree.
There's not gonna be nothing set in stone, a dead, drop dead date or anything like that, or penalties, but,
The first thing is definitions.
Well, let's put those in the back.
yeah, we might wanna
Someone did bring that up with the definitions, and I said, well, definitions is always to start, so you know.
But maybe
like,
start
correct.
with Z. Maybe start with Z.
Anyways, I want to say thank you for everything. This has been a big lift, and a lot of discussions, a lot of things are, people aren't, some people aren't happy with it, but thank you for all the work you've done. We're going to continue to tweak this and get this figured out, so we did it right.
And just like we've always said, it's always going to be adjusted, right? This is.
A living document.
Yeah.
Correct, it's a living, breathing document that will be adjusted, when, just like all of our other documents, is we want to be able to say, hey, guess what? This doesn't apply anymore, and we need to change it, or remove it, or, move on with it, and so, this will not be perfect, and talking to most jurisdictions, that's what they, don't check ours, don't read ours, we need to update ours, and I'm like, yeah, some of them were like 32 pages, and they were saying we need to update ours, and I'm like, okay, well, see, we don't have anything right now, and so,
Yeah.
I don't tell them that, but I'm just thinking, no, it's always changing, it's always adapting, and it will not be perfect, but I think hopefully it'll meet the purpose of why we're trying to do this.
All right, thank you. You'll tweak that a little more, we'll visit again in the future.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
kick,
sure.
what I'll do is, as soon as I tweet these, I'll just email those
Okay.
out, and then that way you guys can kinda, if you wanna send it back and forth, and we can have, some changes, so while we're here the next time.
So fees, I guess we didn't really talk about fees, but we can do that later, that's fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have fee stuff too, but, we can discuss those also later.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Kyle.
Thanks.
Dan, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, we didn't make our 10:30 adjourn, but we've got a couple other items just to go over real quick.
I'm still impressed.
Counselor, any old business that we need to discuss? Stephanie, have anything with old business stuff?
Just what I told you out with that, with the issue assignment.
Okay. Commissioner Pearson, you have some legislation you want
Yeah,
to
it's just
go over real quick?
kind of give you a little bit of a conversation I had an update from Lincoln Church, and kind of a heads up kind of thing on what he's kind of watching for us. Anyway, there's a lot of grant funding and a bunch of different things coming down, that he's keeping an eye out as far as economic development and those kind of things. My gosh. Okay. So, a lot of the things that's good, and you guys were both on the joint jail on the Zoom. So what we're hoping, which is, I think, our biggest ask right now, is that the contracting for the jail, for state inmates, and that is actually in the base budget for the first time in the history of ever.
Right.
Of the governor's budget. And so then if we can get that locked in on a percentage increase, so, because it's always been tweaks. And I don't know if you've got that, I don't know how much you can absorb on that Zoom call, right?
Right.
Or how well you can hear, but normally what they have done is, there's a line item in there, and then they divvy it up in between what we do, which is contract jail,
Right.
and what the GOP, the conditional probation people are. Well, that's the larger chunk of it, so they always take this big giant chunk of that one-time funding.
COP does usually.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I don't know if you understand that, what they've done this year is because that COP funding is actually locked in on their 3-year, so they don't renew till next year. And so they peeled them separately, so they're gonna do the contract jail funding this year during this legislative. We don't have to compete with what they're doing, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Was that clear in that
That
meeting?
makes sense, yes.
So I think that we might actually get that funding per day, a pretty good jump in that. And then the programming, which we do here, which is big for us,
It is big, yes.
is gonna be a significant increase. It's 90 something a day. And then,
And Lincoln's kind of watching that for us too.
yeah, he's watching, because technically, he's gonna be helping us, specifically Beaver County, but who's been.
So what is programming going to?
Upwards of 90.
90 is the state level. I had 8138.
Yeah.
Would be what the county would receive.
Still in the group,
Does that sound right?
That's still improved for sure.
So far off what we've been collecting, so that's why I'm like,
Well, see, that's the.
Make sure Tammy's notes.
6103 is what
You're for
housing has been.
housing, 61?
Programming, I have 14.47, and then MRT is $6.78. So you add those two together, that's only like $20, so if you're saying 90.
No,
Eighty-
that should be on
81.
top of what your base is. That's on top of your base. Right.
The 14.
Your 14's on top of whatever the 60.
Well, yeah. So you're saying.
Well, it's not $14, it's on top of
Well,
whatever
there's-
your base price is.
But not all of them get. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there are some in programming and there are some that are not.
Right,
So-
but your non-program gets that base price, the 60,
Right.
whatever that is.
Right,
Programming is stacked on top of that.
right.
Right, so it's
So
only
it's not just
$20
$14
more.
or whatever, it's on top of,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just make sure we're all on the same page. And wrong book. Anyway,
Cody said it was the best explanation he's ever heard in
Yes,
the 20 years
absolutely.
he's been here, just to sit through the meeting and understand the numbers, so.
yeah, it was the best one I'd ever done, because they've always, it's been a group thing, and then you fight amongst yourselves to get
Get the
your
money.
piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So that, it's like I told them the other day, in my mind, the way they're approaching this, that the stars will align, because we've never had contracting in the governor's budget
Right,
at all, ever.
right,
So that's a huge win to start with.
I agree.
Okay, so the other thing that he's looking at is there's a $5 million one-time for mental health resources, so that's kind of that thing that they mandated last year. And that Heidi's kind of got that app set up. So
We're working on it.
she's working on that, and Department of Workforce Services, he's got, so specifically for us, there's $11 million one time in the UHC educator and firefighter first-time home buyer loan, which
doesn't apply to us.
necessarily doesn't apply to us, but it could be a benefit to the firefighters. Like, last year they put the health insurance option for the volunteer fire. As long as they qualified, they could get their health insurance. There's gonna be a $2.8 million ongoing going into the rural housing fund, so that's something that we can access. I spoke to David Danson, the state treasurer. He's coming down for that open house for the new housing complex out here on the north end of town. So they were part of the funding mechanism for that. He's on that.
You mean the duplexes and the home?
Yeah, so he's gonna come down for that.
The housing company out there.
Yeah, grand opening thing. But he wants to keep in touch with us for whatever we're doing with affordable housing. So there is a $20 million one time, and they're calling it deeply affordable housing. I think they're talking more homelessness, more than they are, maybe Army. Let's see. And then there's another 1.1, or let's see, I guess just 1 million, one time for critical home repairs for unhealthy homes owned by families with an income of 30 to 80% of the AMI. So, these are kind of things that maybe aren't really in our bucket, but we can let our people know.
Yeah.
Right? And then, there's a bunch of stuff going into, so like water, there's 200 million one time for the ag water optimization. You probably know about that on that board, I'm sure you talked about that. So that's like transferring or improving your water systems from flood to pivots, or, and then from pivots down to
Sprinklers and
to the little drill.
nozzles.
Even sprinkler or pivot replacement.
Pivot replacement and nozzle replacement, so you're
Pipe
utilizing the water,
additions,
yeah.
a lot of efficiency. And we've been working really hard on the board to get more money in Southern Utah. They've been focusing on the Great Salt Lake Basin and not so much in the
Right.
rest of the state. So where there's some groundwater management plans being implemented in the southern end of the state, we really feel like this is where we should try to save the water, because they're actually removing the water from us. So we've been pushing those guys pretty hard. We finally got their attention the other day.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. We'll see how long.
Yeah.
We'll see how long they listen.
Yeah.
The bad part about it is, Brad and I understand this, working with NRCS and GIP and Arlos and different things like that, they have a ranking board. And right now, the way they're ranking is you get 100 points off the top if you have anything to do with Great Salt Lake.
20 points.
Well, I'm just
But that's the
figuratively
point, yes.
speaking.
So we made a motion to remove that from the ranking committee. Now, they don't have to listen to us, but the way we made the motion, we got our point across. So hopefully they at least relay that information to you guys.
Right.
Whether it happens or not, and the funding also plays into that. So it's a tough game.
Yeah, well, the bad part about it is, the biggest voices and the most voices are the Wasatch Front.
Yeah.
And kind of like sending our Vickers, I didn't send you guys this yet. So last week with this letter, I talked to Senator Vickers, Representative Albrecht, I talked to Mike Schultz, who's the majority leader in the House, and everybody else, and they're going, and we're all of the same mindset that, the big sexy topic right now is Great Salt Lake, and everybody loves singing that same song because it brings all the money in. But, we need to talk about real solutions.
Yep.
And not just, throw money at it.
Families.
Yep.
So there is, for the rest of the water stuff, there's, $2 million for dam safety upgrades, which I'm assuming, I hope that, BWR fixes Anderson Meadow, because they're the ones that screwed that one up. If that's the way they were talking, and they can't fix it this year, so I don't know. Because it's wide open and it won't be holding any water. Anyway, they got $5 million for stream bank stabilization, which I think we've already done plenty of that on our river. And then under the infrastructure money, Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity is $18 million one time for an ag infrastructure development program. And that's, I think a lot of that's gonna go to like that new agri-park and stuff in Judd County. But if we can use it here, we should,
Yeah.
we need to be aware of it. $45 million for outdoor rec infrastructure. Yeah. And recreation. Transportation, $55 million one time for active transportation statewide trails. $20 million one-time state match for the middle mile fiber project, which I think that's more of the fiber optics kind of stuff, broadband. Still gonna have funding for that rural community grant, for next year. Like more rural housing. Anyway, I sent you guys this update, I won't go on through it. The legislature starts today. We'll try and get you up and running on that. You know how to run the bill tracker,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
You guys all know how to run the bill tracker on UMAC. You ever been on it? Okay, all right. So get on the UMAC meeting tomorrow, and I'll send you a link. In fact, I should be sending a link today on the UAC website.
Yeah, well, we had one this morning that was, it was a tracker, but it was probably, I feel like it's different though.
Probably. Well, it's hard to watch everything.
I know.
So then Thursday morning, vote, yea or nay, support, oppose, neutral. The threshold is 80%, so either 80% have to oppose it for you to take a standing position, or 80% approve for us to take a stand.
Gotcha.
If not, we stay neutral. Okay, because some of them are pretty controversial, and then you'll have different affiliate groups, or, like, last year, the clerks and the commissioners were on polar opposite ends of the one bill. But they got it worked out in the end, so, that's probably all I got.
Okay.
The
Perfect.
legislature put in.
Legislature, yeah. Commissioner Yard, do you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Ginger, do you have anything?
Just a question for you commissioners on open meetings training.
Yes.
Do you want me to provide the open public meeting training, or would you rather just use the lieutenant governor's website, or you want to just get it at the service district training that you go to?
One of these days, I just want to do the website and be done, do it at
It's easy.
midnight.
Yeah, it's just easy, you go to Utah Lieutenant Governor's website, you click the video, you watch it, it's 45 minutes
Yeah,
long.
it's simple. I've done it that way.
I think we're good doing it that way personally. I mean, the service district just did it. I just did it down at St. George the other day, not for service district down there,
You know what
so.
really done?
Done it, and I mean,
Yeah,
I think we do. I don't think there's really any need to do it in this meeting. I think we can do it on our own.
Fantastic, that's great.
We just need to make sure we do it, so.
I was gonna say, if you wanna send us the link or something.
Yeah, how about I do that?
That'd be helpful.
Yep.
And
I'll email you the-
then that'd be a quick,
Yeah, that way you click the button and.
just do it in our spare time.
Yep, in our spare time.
At midnight.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'll send you guys the link too, because most of these meetings, like we'll have the Yellow Cake Caucus is Thursday mornings at 7, and, Rural Caucus is Friday mornings at 7 a.m. So I can send you the link.
Those are usually Zooms too, so.
No,
if you
they
need-
have the Zoom
Yeah.
link, so I'll send those. And then the UAC one is a standing Thursday at 10 o'clock. But if you have anything, like bills that you know that in your affiliate, let us know. Yeah,
Yeah.
There was one, I mean, the recorder bill is one.
Yeah, that's.
yeah, the recorder said you told us that
But
one.
we know about that one for sure.
I got a couple as well, but I'll shoot you emails when I get those.
Okay.
Yeah. Or whoever your chairman is of your affiliate group. Because they're the ones that are gonna be up there battling with the ordinance. Too, but let us know too, so we can help.
I would appreciate that.
All right, nothing else, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.